Good evening to one and all. My name is Benji Stern, and I'm sitting here with Clifton Flack, founder and CEO of CiiTECH and its house of CBD brands. Hi, Clifton. Firstly,
Hi,
I'd like to
Benji.
say how delighted I am to have so many of you joining us this evening. I hope you'll find this an informative session, and we look forward to bring you similar events on a regular basis in the future. We're going to shoot off with a few questions to Clifton Flack. I suppose we'll dive into the origins of CiiTECH. Hi, Clifton. If you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about your background and what made you decide to set up CiiTECH in the first place.
Sure. It's a good start. Look, CiiTECH was founded about 3 years ago now. I've been in the cannabis industry myself for about 5 years. Prior to that, my background is mostly quite uninteresting, unexciting, high-tech marketing. But 5 years ago, I found myself an opportunity to get involved in this fast-emerging cannabis industry. Super exciting, some amazing research happening around the world and some amazing potential benefits on a medical side. But what happened 3 years ago was what we began to see was that as much as there's lots of regulation for medical cannabis has been passing in many countries around the world, it seems to be stuck in many of these countries. And what's happening 3 years ago at the same time was that the UK was beginning to open up to CBD, to non-psychoactive cannabinoids. So really what happened was, as when you're in this industry, when the common underlying stories you'll hear from all businessmen, entrepreneurs, is how amazing it is to be in a business where if you're doing well, it means people are healthy. It's not like selling shoes or tables or fashion. If you're selling CBD, most people, the benefit there is health. And that was really the big guiding light for me to move from the THC world of medical cannabis to CBD, because this is a market that's here today. There's customers that are eager and ready to use CBD today. So 3 years ago, I set up CiiTECH with that sole mission to create a product that would be trustworthy, that consumers would understand, would not be scared of, because cannabis is quite a scary compound for many people. So the non-psychoactive, a trustworthy product, something that consumers could understand, could relate to, and would get used from. That was 3 years ago.
Wonderful. Very good answer. And that also covers part of the question as to why you got involved in CBD and why specifically the UK. Also leads me into my next question as to being a research company, doing research in Israel. If you're an English company, why not do the research in the UK?
Okay, so there's a few questions in there. So let's go back a bit. So why UK? Well, as you can hear from my accent, that's where I'm from. I found myself in the cannabis industry actually in Israel 5 years ago. This is one of the countries that's been at the epicenter of cannabis R&D for many decades. It's been a country where research has been legal, it's been allowed, permitted, say since about 1960, whereas in America and England and many other European countries, along with cannabis prohibition, came the prohibition to research the plant. So why Israel for research? It's really just the heritage the country has. Why the UK? Well, having found myself in the industry in Israel and being exposed to, again, the science, the research, the patients, the clinical data, the regulation, all that kind of the whole world, to then look at England where you don't have all the issues of regulation. As long as you create your product honestly, and what you write on the label is what's in the bottle, as long as you abide by standard European food supplement laws, then you can sell a product today. And that's the complete opposite to anything with THC, where it's just caught up, abound in legal work and regulation. So really, it's UK because the market is open and the consumers are there and they're eager and they're enjoying using CBD. And Israel for research because that's just the heritage of the country, and we have some of the most incredible researchers and doctors here to make use of.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Now, since launching the company a few years ago, can you tell me, how has the industry changed and how would you like to see it develop over the coming year or so?
So in 3 years, on the one hand, things have changed a lot. It's been a big move towards regulating the industry. On the other hand, many things have not changed. Still, if you ask many customers out there to ask them to explain what CBD does for them, how it works, which brand, why one brand over a different brand, what lab reports are about, what different cannabinoids can do, there's still a lot of education that needs to be done. So that's something that I mean, it's changed insofar as there's a lot more education out, a lot more mature customers, but there's a lot more work to be done. And that's really where we see the work at CiiTECH, is to do the research and to create that knowledge and share that knowledge with the market, and so that customers can make informed decisions as to what brand, what product to buy, how to use it, what dosage to use. I think this is something that is still missing in the industry. There's still that lack of trust. I think that lack of trust is still there because the industry is still very young. We've not reached a stage yet where the big healthcare companies or the big food supplement companies are engaged. You still can't go into Boots or Honda and Barrett and find a recognized household brand that's doing CBD. CBD is still new brands, mostly unrecognizable. Again, that's something that's changing over the time, and I think something that we've done, we're very proud of. That we've created Provocam. We created it 3 years ago with that very simple but very pure ethos of creating a product that's not just good, but consumers can trust is going to work well for them time and time again. Same product, same ingredients, a standardized product month after month after month. I think the market has got a lot of work to kind of catch up with that. There's still lots of products that consumers will tell you that they'll buy it 1 month and they'll be different the next. That's not what you want from any kind of health or wellness product. You want standardization, and that's really where the market is and the industry is aiming towards, but still has some way to go.
Great, thank you. And you did mention there about standardization, products you can trust, and obviously being a UK company and with Brexit now happened, I understand that you, as well as many CBD companies that source their product and produce their product from within the EU. With this whole Brexit fiasco, how do you see that affecting yourself and other companies who make products in the EU?
Fiasco is a nice word. There was 3 years of hell. I think we all have got our PTSD from the Brexit 3 years. Look, I think there was lots of fear at the time. Lots of fear that goods might be stuck at the borders. There might be boats that are queued up at Dover. There might be lorries at the great big car park on the motorways. Thankfully, none of that has happened yet. We still have the transition period, so there's still a fear that at the end of the year, when we actually make that break, there could be a problem. But to be honest, from what we know, we've worked very closely with the customs offices and with the government and with the HMRC. So we understand that the civil service behind the politicians pretty much have everything ready for Brexit. The guidelines, the procedures are in place. I believe nobody now foresees any problems. I guess from a customer perspective, there might be a fear that as we exit Europe, there could be an increase in price. That's something we're working very hard to avoid. What we've been doing as a company is to make sure that we're covered either way. So whereas up until about 6 months ago, almost all of our production took place in different parts of Europe. Some in England, some in Eastern Europe. What we've begun to do is to double up all of our contract manufacturers, all of our supply chain, to ensure that if the worst case was to happen and we can't get product into England from Europe, that we could source locally. And likewise, we've negotiated pricing that if prices were to go up in Europe, then we can cover that with the UK transmission. But right now, we see no problems. We don't see any issues with any kind of quality control. Supply chain is intact. I think actually many of the possible concerns that people might have had with Brexit probably have been worked out with what we've had to deal with the recent corona pandemic. With all the various contingency plans that we're having to put into place for supply chain and all these kind of things that are very important for keeping the business going and keeping the product flowing through to the customer. Because we know from our customer feedback that many of our customers don't really even consider themselves customers. They consider themselves more patients. We don't sell medicine, we sell a food supplement, but we understand the importance, the critical importance that people put on our products in their daily life routine. So we're working very hard all the time to make sure there's never a break in that flow.
Great. Now, before we move on to laws and regulations, which is quite a deep and wholesome subject, I just want to ask one question which many of the users have been asking themselves, and that is, do you use CiiTECH CBD products yourself? When did you start if you do use them? And what are your favorite products, or what is your favorite product?
Okay, so I first need to give a little caveat. Again, because we're a CBD company, we're representing CBD products, we cannot make any medical claims. We cannot, I should not even mention why I use it. I do use CBD. I've been using it from, I guess, about 2.5 years ago. So anything I tell you right now about my story is personal to me. I'm not making any recommendation. My story is quite simple. When I got into the business, I began taking CBD for health and wellness. A few milligrams here and there. I wasn't a serious user. As the business began to grow, and I saw firsthand the feedback from our customers, I began to increase my own dose. What I noticed, I think it took me about 2 weeks to notice, but I'd had this like sciatic back pain. They've been on and off for a number of years. It was never serious enough for me to go to the doctor and deal with it. A few painkillers here and there. What I found was once I increased my CBD dose, within a couple of weeks, the pain was gone. And at the times where, if I was sitting in the car or on a train for a long period of time, that's when the pain would really come. And that just went. It literally disappeared. I didn't believe it myself. I stopped taking CBD, and within 2 days, the pain came back. I went through a period of, on, off, proving to myself that it wasn't something that was in my mind, and it really was real. This was stopping this pain. And that's one thing. But what for me was really the most mind-blowing thing, and it really reaffirms my own commitment to the work that we do, was blood tests. And I tell everybody, before you start taking CBD, go for a blood test. If we could say it on the website, we would, but we can't because of the medical claim concerns, compliance. But anyone that's taking CBD, start with a blood test. Check your glucose, check your cholesterol, check all these different markers, because you might be surprised to what happens after 6 months or so of taking a regular dose of CBD. I found, I have high cholesterol. I've been a borderline diabetic, been pre-diabetic for a number of years. My doctor told me now's the time to exercise, now's the time to look after your weight and your diet. And I'm quite lazy, I admit that. And I do no exercise, I do no diet. But after 6 months, I went back for a blood test, and my doctor was blown away. She was interrogating me. What have you done? What are you doing? Because my cholesterol had literally normalized. All the markers had literally gone from top end, verging into the red, to right slap bang in the center. It was like a complete holistic body reset. And I go for a blood test now every 6 months, and it's still the same. I still take my cholesterol medication. I'm not, this is, as I say again, CBD should not be treated as a medicine. I need to be very, very careful with your own health. But it blows me away at this kind of holistic approach this compound can have, this natural product. And this really comes down to, I know it's a question we get asked a lot, about the endocannabinoid system and how is it that CBD can be looked upon and talked about as this amazing plant, amazing compound that can give benefits for so many different health problems. And it comes down to this thing called the endocannabinoid system. And this is part of the central nervous system. The central nervous system, it part of the brain, it connects to every part of the body. There's literally hundreds, maybe even thousands of different receptor systems that make up this CNS. One of those receptor systems is the endocannabinoid system, which was discovered actually in Israel in the late 1950s. And it's this receptor system that cannabis compounds bind to in the body. Now, what's amazing about this receptor system, the endocannabinoid system, is it's one of only a few, one of I think literally a handful, that reach to every single part of the body. So most receptor systems will go for your eyes or your feelings or your arms or something. But like if you imagine reflexology, if you ever had reflexology where they play with the soles of your feet, and allegedly it can help with fixing your liver and all different health complaints. It's the same concept. The receptor system reaches every part of the body. Therefore, if you manipulate one part, then you can potentially have an effect on another. So this endocannabinoid system, really, this is like the train track. So if you imagine you've got this healthcare train track that reaches literally, whether it be from your head, from your eyes, from feelings, neurological, every part of the body, and you've got this compound as the train carriage that can reach every part. So this is why people are using it for insomnia, people are using it for stress, people are using it for all different types of things, and it really is this amazing plant. So I really want to stress that, because people ask us a lot, how can people say that it works for this and it works for that? And again, first off, it's a food supplement. That's as far as we go. But the mechanics of it is this endocannabinoid system which carries the CBD wherever it needs to go. And then it really comes down to dosage and what's the best product to get where you want to get it to. So if you have some kind of skin problem or a muscle problem or something dermatological, then obviously you want something topical that you can apply direct to where you want to get it. If it's something internal, then you're talking about something sublingual, like our tincture, which is very popular. Why tincture? Simply because if you drop it under your tongue, sublingual, and hold it there, that's the fastest way to get it into your bloodstream. So when you hear the term bioavailability, that's what we're talking about. How quick and how efficient can you get this compound into your blood system? Sublingual, under the tongue, hold it for 20 seconds is the most effective. After that, you're talking about things like capsules, which are very popular, or inhalation, which is a very quick onset in the lungs. It's like smoking. It's slightly healthier. So what do I take? I take anything from a 12% or 24%. Often we'll take a capsule, and I always carry around a pack of our new gummies, because A, they're tasty, and B, they are really, really good just when you need them.
Brilliant. Oh, thank you very much for that comprehensive answer. I think the audience get a good picture as to what you use and why you use it. Now, as I said before, we're going to get into the bit of the nitty-gritty right now, and that's the laws and regulatory framework side of things. There's been a lot of talk in the UK about products that are being sold illicitly, some stores being shut down. People don't know what products are legal, what are illegal, whether they contain THC, the psychoactive substance, etc. If you could tell us why you believe it's important to have a regulatory framework as a starter, and then we'll sort of lead on from there.
Sure. Look, I think it all starts with the fundamental confusion or overlap between a CBD product and cannabis. Cannabis is inherently a problem because of THC. THC is a problem because it's psychoactive. Psychoactive and illegal. Illegal because it's psychoactive. So these obstacles create a very scary perception of what this thing can do. But it creates immeasurable roadblocks and brick walls to get product through to customers. So why is regulation important? It's important because most of the money and most of the excitement when it comes to cannabis is THC. This is the criminal underworld is based on THC. If you're uninitiated and you look at a cannabis flower and a hemp flower, hemp is the cannabis variety that has almost zero THC. So that's what we use. That's a plant that we use for our CBD products. So, but if you look at a hemp plant and a cannabis plant, they look the same. They smell the same. They taste the same. They'll do very different things. One will get you very, very high and might land you in prison, and the other one might just get you nice and healthy and relaxed. So firstly, you have to have regulation just at that high level to enable the separation between something that's illegal, psychoactive, and something that's not. Once you then remove the THC and the illegality from our conversation, because that is removed, because our world is just CBD, our world is not recreational. None of our customers use our products for fun. They're using it for healthcare. So then why is it important to have regulation in that? And I think just using the word healthcare or health and wellness or food supplement, dietary supplement, it explains it in itself. you cannot have a situation where people are able to buy over the counter, off a website, in the gas station, in a newsagent, a product that A, might get them high, and B, where even if it doesn't, they've got no idea what's in it. They've got no idea where it came from. They've got no idea how it was grown. They've got no idea, was there pesticides used that could have carried through to product that can make you sick? Customers would have no idea, how that product came to be in oil from a flower. What's the extraction process? How is it stored? How is it transported? Is there actually 600 milligrams of CBD in there? And is there other cannabinoids? Is there CBG in there? Are there terpenes? There's so many other compounds that come into we call it a full spectrum. A full spectrum will be like a slice of the plant's cannabinoid profiles. Everything in the plant, there'll be a slice of in the oil. And there's not a lot of research on many other cannabinoids. So, for example, in our Provocan oil, we have a very high CBG content, and we have quite a nice CBC content with CBDV. Now, there's some research in what these do. Certainly, there's research that they're safe compounds, but there's not a lot of research as to the powerful effects they can have or the side effects they can have. So, really, the regulation comes down to it's just customer safety. The same way that you must have regulation in the beverage market, because you don't want somebody putting some unsafe mixture of flavors or sugars in a drink that's going to make a customer sick. The manufacturer is responsible, the retailer is responsible, and then there's all manner of issues in between. So certainly, anything that a customer puts in their body, there has to be, just common sense says there has to be some regulation to protect customers of what they're buying and putting in their body. And then even more so when customers are using it as a health and wellness product, as a nutraceutical, because then they're really looking at this as something that's going to give them benefit. If they're going to give them benefits, we really, as an industry, we must be sure that not only is that compound giving them benefit, there's nothing else in there that might give them a negative effect. So the regulation that we all seek purely comes down to ensuring that the industry and us and all of our competitors and partners are producing safe products. The same way vitamin C should be regulated and is, and aloe vera should be regulated and is. CBD is no different and should be no different. And anyone that says it should be different, I would question them. I'd question some morals.
Great. So by having regulatory framework, does this mean we are then embracing medical cannabis? In fact, what is the difference between CBD and medical cannabis itself?
There's a number of differences.
So one more thing to add to that, excuse me, sorry, because I actually had a friend in Israel who had some CBD oil that was prescribed as medical cannabis. And from the look of the packaging, it appeared to be no different from the Provocan bottles that you guys sell on the website. Okay.
Yes, you've posed 3 or 4 nice entangled questions there for me to untangle. So first and foremost, the key difference is THC. The key difference is that one compound that makes you high. Take out THC and there's very little difference to the physical or the chemical makeup of the plant. Why is THC important for medical cannabis is a great question or a great conversation. There's a lot of research that has been done that THC has amazing health benefits, from pain management to some other neurological conditions. Certainly in Israel and in America, the bulk of the research, the bulk of the anecdotal evidence that's come out in recent years has been THC focused. Why THC focused? That's the research they chose to do. It's a lot sexier to do research with THC. It's a lot sexier to build a company based on an illegal product that might have recreational and huge revenue prospects in the future. So the industry has been kind of slightly swayed by the excitement of THC. Because of that, there's a whole bunch of regulatory concerns or issues that have come about. Because THC has to be regulated, it has to be supervised because it's psychoactive. There's no way around that. There's no way that anyone really would I believe there should be no one that would condone anyone being given a THC product as any kind of medicine without doctor supervision, doctor prescribing and doctor supervision. I think that's quite clear. So when you do that, that throws up the immediate, probably the single biggest brick wall to that industry, which is, and in Israel, there has been a mantra for a number of years that the government are trying to medicalize cannabis, which is very altruistic. It's very cool. The problem with it is if you call something medicine and you demand of the government to regulate it as medicine, then they only have one pathway. That pathway is pharmaceutical. There's guidelines that say exactly what you must do to prove your product is safe and effective. It takes a number of years to do that. There's lots of clinical studies, multi-site studies, thousands and thousands of patients, double-blind, placebo-controlled trials. This is the realm of big pharma. This is the only way that you can get a product or anything to be proven safe and proven effective to a point that a doctor will prescribe it and a pharmacist will dispense it, and it can be incorporated into a medical health regime. It's the only way. What medical cannabis, the industry has tried to do, and in some ways it's succeeded, is to kind of create a third leg of healthcare. So you've got your pharmaceutical healthcare, and you've got the health and wellness kind of part of healthcare. And the cannabis industry has tried to create this third. We call it medical cannabis, whereby the demand, the lobbying, and I was part of that myself for a number of years, the lobbying is we need to create a legislative environment where doctors can prescribe something that they don't have the data to prescribe for, and that can be prescribed through the healthcare system, even though it does not meet any of the requirements that's needed for a normal medication to be in the healthcare system. If that kind of makes sense, then well done to you. It's kind of confusing. It is confusing, and that's really why all around the world, if you look at these countries where they've passed medical cannabis laws, very few of them have made any progress. I mean, indeed, even in Israel, we have 60,000 patients. I believe in Germany, there's 100,000 patients. Whereas in England, without medical cannabis and without any new laws for CBD, not a single line of legislation written, we've got over 1 million are regularly using CBD, and they're using it for their health. So this is like the pros and the cons, the key differences. If you call something medicine and you want to market it as medicine, it's very expensive, takes a long time, it's called big pharma, and there's no shortcut. We're seeing that in many countries. However, there's the opportunity with the food supplements, the health and wellness, non-psychoactive, hemp-derived CBD. But then the question comes up, well, does that mean that CBD is not as effective as medical cannabis? Is medical cannabis better? Is THC better? And whereas the clinical studies may argue in favor of THC, that's because most clinical studies have started with THC. That's all they know. Whereas the market data, and that's our customer data and the many other CBD companies out there that can attest to the same data, I presume similar data, is that our customers are using our products for exactly the same reasons that patients are being prescribed medical cannabis in Canada, in Germany, in Israel, in America, and many other countries. Why am I making a point of that? Because it comes back to the endocannabinoid system, and it comes back to the human body. Now, to say at the beginning, I'm going to repeat it now. My background is marketing and business. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a chemist. I'm not a doctor. I mix with lots of them. I've had many enlightening conversations with many really, really clever people. But I repeat what they say. There's an amazing thing with the human body. And the human body is a vessel that is subject to, for better and for worse, is a slave to inflammation. The human body is a slave to inflammation. We need inflammation because when we get injured, it's that bruising, the inflammation It's the body's kind of self-healing process, part of the self-healing process. But we're also a slave to it because it's inflammation that causes almost every human disease and illness. There was a study done many years ago that came out with the startling figure of 95% of all human disease begins with or presents as inflammation. That's from a simple bruise through to cancer. It's amazing. Cancer, most cancer, or some cancers at least, begin with the inflammation of the enzymes in the cell that cause a mutation, and that's cancer. So the logic is this: if the human body is a slave to inflammation, if you can control inflammation, then you can control almost anything. And CBD is a natural anti-inflammatory. CBD is nature's Nurofen. And I always remind people that, if you remember the world before Nurofen, when pain relief meant paracetamol or aspirin, that was a very simple world. And then Nurofen came along, and literally overnight, they took massive market share. Was it marketing? Was it a better product? Well, we know that Nurofen, ibuprofen, is an anti-inflammatory. We know that paracetamol is a painkiller. It masks pain. So whereas you've got in our world, in the cannabis world, it's a similar parallel where THC is used for pain management, but more of because it's a painkiller. It masks the pain that you feel, in part because you get high. Whereas CBD, as an anti-inflammatory, like Nurofen, gets to the core of the problem and effectively treats the cause of the pain, the cause of the inflammation. So really, it's a combination of endocannabinoid system, anti-inflammatory, which is what CBD is, and you get this from hemp, compared to the medical cannabis world where it's very THC focused, very medical focused, very regulation and compliance focused. One gives a very expensive, eventual long-term route to market, and where we are gives a much more cost-effective to the consumer, much more readily available, and I would say a much more effective product that people can buy and make use of and enjoy today. And that's where we as CiiTECH position ourselves, that we look to research those health conditions that non-psychoactive cannabinoids can help with. Those cannabinoids that don't require doctors to prescribe or to supervise. Things that we can use just like, looking after ourselves, like going for a run, eating healthy, taking the right food supplements to help our body holistically. And that's really one of the essences of CiiTECH, is to focus on that research and to reveal, unravel the truths and the opportunities of what the plant can do for us, for all of us. Sorry, I think that was a long answer, wasn't it?
No, it's a good answer. And just to be clear, so everyone can really understand. So aside from THC products that we've obviously discussed, they do need some kind of medical approval. If you take a medically approved CBD product and compare it to a Provocan CBD product, is there any difference between the two theoretically, or are they more or less the same product makeup?
Look, when you get down to, again, I'm not a chemist, but I've been explained the simplicity of chemistry in this instance. CBD is a molecule, a single molecule. Whether that CBD comes from hemp, or that CBD comes from a different cannabis strain, or if the CBD is manufactured synthetically in a laboratory, CBD is CBD. It's exactly the same. The differences between one type of CBD product and another, in the most part, will be everything else around it. The best chocolate cake is not because it's just chocolate, it's because there's other ingredients that the chef will put in which lift up the chocolate of the chocolate cake, that make it all better. And that's really the challenge for all companies like us, is to deliver a product that's not just CBD, because CBD is one thing. It's to create a package of a product with many different angles and facets and compounds to do different things that in parallel and combined can have the most powerful and effective results time and time again. And that's really the difference. It's not the specifics, it's how you put the recipe together and present the package and the use of the package to consumers.
Fantastic answer. Thank you again. So now let's move on to Provocan. There's a lot of common questions asked by customers. We'll shout out a few and see how you can attack them. Let's start with the first and most simple one, and that is why does Provocan not do any flavored oils?
This is a loaded question. Did you put this question there, Benji? Benji, you put this question,
actually,
didn't you?
I did, yes.
Why don't we do flavors? Look, this is a constant conversation. I'm sure not just in our company, but probably in many companies out there. Look, we're very well aware that CBD, hemp extract, it's not the nicest flavor. It's an acquired taste. We don't do flavors because for two reasons. One is ideologically, I don't believe that medicine or any kind of healthcare product should be tasty. I don't think that's the right ethos for using a product. Also, it shouldn't be foul, but it shouldn't be tasty. And the other reason is flavors are a very personal thing. I've taste tested many lemon CBD flavors brands and mint CBD brands and all these different flavors. And I like lemon and I like mint, but there's 20 different types of mint. There's 100 different types of orange and lemon and these different flavors, plus the different how strong it is. It's a minefield, and our expertise, that we recognize where our skills are, our expertise is not flavors. We're not a flavor company. We are a science-based CBD company. We know how to produce the best, we believe, the best CBD products. For anybody that doesn't like the flavor of our products, I can only apologize, but please persevere. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, when you know that it works, when you feel the physical benefit, the flavor becomes irrelevant. You almost begin to crave that almost sour, bitter plant flavor because you know the positive effect it's going to have.
Wonderful. Now, I understand you're also trying to improve your products and develop new products in-house. Have you got any new things that you just brought out or anything that's in store that we should be keeping an eye out for?
Well, we're always innovating. We're always trying to launch new products and try new delivery mechanisms, which is really what the question is. It's about delivery mechanisms because, again, CBD is CBD. The quickest way to get it into your blood is your sublingual or to inhale it. But it's not just about that. Some people just, whether it be the flavor or whether it be the convenience, some people just want a capsule, a pill. But not all pills or capsules are made equal. It's a case of where, if it's a capsule, where does that capsule dissolve in the body? Does that make it past the liver? Do you want it to get past the liver? Do you want it to dissolve in the gut? Should it dissolve as it goes down the throat? Different pH levels will dictate different. It really comes down to the most innovative way to create a product that we know time and time again will do the same thing and that we know what it does. What we are very averse to doing is putting CBD in something just because we can. We need to understand why we're putting it in there and what the potential benefits are. Like, for example, we launched, a few months ago, we launched a CBD shampoo. Does it prevent hair loss? Of course not. Of course not. Even though it was one of our plans that it might prevent hair loss. We put CBD in shampoo for a very simple reason. It's topical. For things like for dandruff, for dry scalp, CBD direct on is the best thing you can do. Do you want to put oil on your head? Probably not. Do you want to put that on your head when you're in the shower or the bath where you can leave it on, it can soak in for a few minutes, and then you rinse it off? Probably the most effective. We did our research. We spoke with the experts and we did some trials. And we believe that if you want to get CBD onto your scalp, the most effective way, the most convenient way is with a shampoo. So we chose that. We did recently launch some gummies. That was purely from listening to customers. It wasn't something that we had in our product pipeline. We know that in America, edibles, gummies, they're very, very popular. We didn't rush into that in the UK, but we listened to our customers, and more customers were asking for some kind of edible solution, not just for them, but also for their children, for kids that are using CBD. So we've launched those a few months back. We're getting amazing feedback on those. We launched recently a new vape device, which is actually really, really exciting. It's a company we found actually in Israel, and they have the first medically approved or medically certified cannabis vaporization device. It's a handheld vape pen, approved by the Israeli Ministry of Health to be a medical device for cannabis. We've secured the license for that for the UK. And we're producing our Provocan formulation in little disposable cartridges. So we did that again because people were asking more and more for inhalable solutions. We do already sell e-liquids, but that's you need to have a tank and your own e-liquid pen, and you pour it in. It can be a bit messy, but the closed cartridge solution of the vape pod, which is the pen, we found that to be really, really effective. The dosage is as accurate as it can be. The device has an automatic shut-off, so you're sucking on the pen for 1.667 seconds equals your dose of CBD. So it's incredibly accurate. It's approved for a medical device. It's safe, and again, we're getting amazing feedback from our customers on that. In the pipeline, many things in the pipeline. We need to keep tuned and stay aware, and we'll let you know what's coming.
Great, thank you, Cliff. One thing to mention, just a quick question about the new tops that you've put on the oils, where the customer asking why was the change, any specific reason. From my perspective, they do look great. If you have anything to add on that, that would be lovely.
No, you know what, Benji, since you led that project, you can answer that.
Okay, well, I will give it a very, very simple answer to the audience. We did a bunch of testing on products, trying to improve the quality of bottles. There was a small amount, a very, very small amount, that had been opened by people that shouldn't have done. So we chose to go for the childproof locking tops to give added security to our customers that were leaving the oils in precarious places. In addition to that, it just made a much more solid fitting and prevented any chance or less chance of leakage when carrying the bottle around with you in public places, as we know some of our customers like doing. It's not recommended, but it's something that we wanted to try and address anyway. There was a question from another customer. Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to add one thing. It's interesting because you say it is about, it's a childproof cap. And you're right, we listened to customers again, and we got feedback that it will be wise to look at that kind of solution. It's also the recommendation of the Cannabis Trade Association, which is the not-for-profit association that governs the CBD industry in the UK. Their guidelines for all members, and we're one of the early founding members, their guidelines are that CBD should not be sold to children, should not be marketed to children, and the advice should be not to give CBD to children. So we abide by this. If you look at our packaging, we not to be sold under 18. We don't give medical advice anyway, so we never condone giving any of our products to children. However, there's an anomaly here, and a weird anomaly or irony, better word than anomalies, an irony, that of all the research, the solid, accepted, peer-reviewed clinical data that we have on CBD is about CBD for children. There's a British company called GW Pharma who have a product called Epidiolex. Epidiolex actually is, ironically again, almost identical to our Provocan 24%. Short of a couple of little ingredients, exactly the same. Now, their product is a true pharmaceutical product. You can't even call it cannabis or CBD. It's a pharmaceutical. They spent 10 years, millions of pounds, hundreds of millions of pounds in clinical studies to prove, and they did prove that CBD, their product, Epidiolex, can treat epilepsy in children. Now, the starting point of that research is this compound safe to give to children? only after that safety can you then go on to try and prove that it's actually going to be effective treatment. So the irony is we cannot market CBD for children specifically. However, of all the research, the only people that we know it's safe to use it are children.
Great.
Background. Yes, the childlike cannabis are a nice addition, and they are safe and they are pretty.
Great. Now we're going to have to start wrapping up now, Clifton. We have selected a couple of questions from our devoted audience, so I'll just shoot them over to you if you kindly answer them. The first one being about flavoured CBD products, and the gentleman would like to know if they are made from isolate or if they are full spectrum or broad spectrum products. These are products made with flavours. I believe I know the answer to this, but I'll let you go for it.
Are you talking about the gummies, the flavoured gummies?
No, anyone that's making flavoured CBD products, so oils, I would assume.
Anyone that's making
flavours, and does it have to be an isolate base?
Look, is quite straightforward. Adding flavours is no different to adding colours. Like food colouring, food flavours, you buy them off the shelf. There's a bunch of very reputable companies that have been around for many decades making these flavours, flavoured profiles. And they've been making flavoured profiles for the food industry for years. And you just go ahead and buy them in bulk and drop them into your CBD product. It's as simple as that. But as I say, the reason that we don't do it, or we haven't rushed to do it, is that our expertise right now is in CBD, not in producing beautiful flavors. But as far as any other companies, the flavor profile should not have an impact on whether it's a full spectrum or an isolate. Although a full spectrum will have much more of a bitter flavor because it's a fuller spectrum from the plant. An isolate-based product may need less flavor masking because it's a simpler product.
Great. And whilst we're talking about the full spectrum, broad spectrum isolate products, I think the next question is very relevant. One of the customers is asking, why is Provcan much more expensive compared to other products sold in Boots or Holland and Barrett, etc.? I could name a couple of brands. I don't think I need to.
Okay, so first, we hope to see our products in Boots in the next couple of months. We're very, very excited about that. There should be an announcement very soon about that. Look, I don't particularly think our prices are overly expensive. We're certainly not a cheap product. CBD is not a cheap product. I would just warn anybody that is considering buying something that looks too cheap to be true, because it's probably not true. Like anything, yeah, if you're choosing a product just based on price, then we can't fight, we can't compete with that. What we focus on and what we try and do is ensure that our product stands up to the highest scrutiny of quality and effectiveness. We're always working on bringing the price down or increasing the value of the product. So sometimes the price will come down, sometimes we'll just add more CBD so customers get more bang for their buck. And again, this is something that right now it's an industry issue that CBD is expensive. And as the industry also normalizes, we're likely to see not an increase in price, but maybe a delay in reduction in prices as the cost to ensure compliance, the cost of companies to ensure they are abiding by all the new regulation that's passing is going to push up the cost of making products. So yes, I would say bear with us. I can tell you that I'm sure that all our customers who are listening can attest to the fact that certainly once you become a customer of Provocan, we always look after our customers. There's always regular promotions that go out. We're always trying to incentivize our existing customers to try our new products. So new product launches are often launched in private in small groups to our existing customers. Like our new hand sanitizer that we launched a few weeks back. we took a small segment of our database, and as a test, we sent some messages out. We gave some big discounts. Again, it's like a club. We value our customers, and we like to test products with our customers. This is a new industry, and our customers feedback. They appreciate almost being part of that development process with us, joining us on that journey of making sure that what we deliver hopefully starts out as close to perfect as possible. But we're realistic and we're human. We know that things take time to perfect. And our ideology is work with our customers and give them something, and they'll give back to us. And we're very proud that over half of our customers stay with us and continue to buy with us month after month. I think that says a lot.
So I've got 2 more questions, Clifton. I want to jump in with them because we are very short on time. I apologise. One of them, which we haven't noted down, but I think is very relevant, and that is to do with the CiiTECH customer services. Aidan obviously has done a great job in managing things mostly himself up until now. And a couple of our customers would like to know that although we are always endeavouring to reply to messages as quickly as we can, etc., what we are doing internally to try and better response times, etc.
We love Aidan. Aidan is one of the rocks of the business, and he works incredibly hard. So we have actually brought on a new customer service rep. His name is Tal. If our customers haven't met him yet, I'm sure you all will meet him soon. We've built in, and we're building in, and we continue always to expand our automation. So we know there's a lot of questions that come up, which can be answered with a simple canned response, a simple automated response, and that frees up Aidan's time, for example, to get more involved in deeper questions and deeper conversations with customers. So that's something we're doing. So first, we're expanding the manpower, and we're working on our technology, and also we're working on reducing the need for our customers to need to reach out to us. We've also launched actually it's a good point. We've also launched a Provocan user group, where we're actually finding now lots of our customers are actually almost acting as a customer service team for us. So people come on, ask a question. And I've seen it myself. People ask a question, there's like 20 customers that jump in and they're helping this potential customer out. It's a beautiful thing to see, amazing thing to see. So we always strive to do better. We know nothing's perfect, but we're listening and we're working hard, and we know the things that we need to do.
Okay, great. And I'll just jump in with a very last question, a very, very important question which should be addressed, and that is very simple. One gentleman's asked, have the CBD oil, but my company, who I have been with for 32 years, drug test for THC. Is this safe to use, or is it safer to use a CBD isolate-based oil? Well, firstly, I'll jump in and say the CBD isolate-based oil. Oh, go on. Please, Clifton.
All of our products test with 0% THC. Look, any scientist, any chemist will tell you, any extractor will tell you, it's almost impossible to remove every contaminant from everything. And so whereas we can say that we have 0% THC to 4 decimal places, which means you've got to test down to 0.0000 to find anything. The likelihood of that coming up in a drugs test, even if there is something found, is minimal. I can say that we have a number of very high-profile professional sportsmen that use our products that get tested regularly and have never come up and failed a test. We've got doctors, we've got soldiers who use our products and also get tested and have never come up with a negative. In 3 years, we've never had one customer that's come to us saying that they tested negative or positive for THC in a test. So with a caveat that we can never guarantee 100%, again, we're doing the best we can to make sure that the risk of contamination is minimized as much as we can.
Great.
I hope that kind of answers the best we can.
Great. Well, I think that's a great answer.
I want to add one more thing before we wrap this up.
Please.
I want to add one more thing. If people that are watching, if people have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, Now's a good time. I think there should be a subscribe button down that side or maybe down that side. I think there's also a bell icon so you can be notified of new videos being uploaded. So I highly recommend subscribe to our channel. If you haven't liked our Facebook page or our Instagram page yet, then go do that as well. There's always good information coming out in promotions that we launch through those mediums. And of course, our Provocan user group is growing and it's active and it's fun. And I highly recommend that everybody joins.
Great. So as Clifton said, smash that like button, subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you all on the next edition. Good night, everybody.
Thank you very much.